YouTube, Alex here with another Freebird Media live stream. Thank you to everyone who tunes in to watch this. So this stream today is actually an open letter to Kurt Phillips, the guy who is the main voice behind the ARC blog. Now, it has recently come to light that Kurt Phillips is a teacher from Alberta who teaches high school kids, and he also runs an Antifa-linked blog called Antiracist Canada, which I think is actually a hate blog. And so after he was exposed for running this blog, he released a statement and said he's no longer going to be running the ARC blog. He's now going to be working with the Anti-Hate Network. But he's put out this statement in response to everything that's happened since he was outed. And I would just like to say that I'm writing this letter to Kurt because Kurt has written about me fairly extensively on his blog while he was anonymous, and he's been very disrespectful towards me, and I would say slandering me, calling me douchebag in his articles, and inspiring violence against me. And so I'd like to kind of I've tried to reach out to him ever since, when he was anonymous, he would have no problem messaging me or sort of almost taunting me through his messages. But now that I know who he is, I know who this Kurt guy is, he's refusing to acknowledge me. So I'm making this sort of as an open letter to him, and it's also an open letter to the Catholic School Board for which he works, because I'd like to address some issues that I think are very relevant to his statement, because I think there's some major inaccuracies in the statement. So before I begin, I want to say that ARC is an Antifa-linked blog, and what I mean by that is they have a banner on their homepage. This is the blog that he was running, and if you see up here near the top where it says Truth, it's hard to see, but right to the left of it, because the font is actually dark blue, where it says Antifa. You can see here, these are all the sort of things that Antiracist Canada endorses. So you've got generic things like kindness, so apparently, and empathy, but then love, respect, and then of course Antifa is linked right up there. So you definitely have an endorsement of Antifa on the front of your blog, and that's why I say that it is a Antifa-linked blog. So for those of you who don't, this is Kurt Phillips. It's interesting for me to see what he looks like, because I feel that this person has harassed and slandered me for years, and it's just interesting. I have this thing about people who are anonymous, and it's just there's something very cowardly about it. So I don't know why Kurt was so empowered to talk to me before when he was anonymous, but now that I'd like to just have a simple conversation with him, he won't respond. Now, I believe that his statement is full of errors, and I just want to go over a few things here. One of the things on his statement is that he says, if you look at point 2 here, and he talks about why he's anonymous, he says, "I would never, nor would I ever promote acts of violence. Throughout my life, I have rejected violence as a means of ending change and have always promoted legal and democratic methods to make the world a better place. Those who know me know this. I believe exposing hate is one of the best ways to stop it. Although you may yourself not be directly calling for violence, I think what people are concerned about is the fact that you have endorsements for Antifa on this site, and then you make articles which Antifa then use as a justification to attack people." I'll give you an example. This is a tweet by Alex Hundert, who is an Antifa activist who has been in prison actually for inciting violence during the G20 record. So he does have a criminal record, and he's the kind of person that is not against using violence. And he has been calling for for people to punch me or assault me in the streets. And as a result, people have attempted to do so at multiple rallies. And the justification that they have for this is usually referencing Antiracist Canada articles. Now, if you look at this one, it says Cameron versus Van Ham, Battle of the Douchebags. You talk about how you have respect for people and how you're a meticulous researcher, but all you really do is take someone like me, put my name on there, call me a douchebag, and if you really look in the article, there's no actual evidence of anything reprehensible about me or my views or anything. In fact, most of the time, you're showcasing examples of me arguing with white nationalists or with people who have fringe views. So I'm actually the opposite of what you paint me out to be. And so I would say that you, at least indirectly, endorse violence, because this happens all the time as a result of your articles, as you can see very clearly here. And even when I try to communicate with you politely to bring to your attention, to have a dialogue with you, to explain, that you've got this wrong, I'm not a hateful person, or I'm not a Nazi or anything like that, you just ignore me, and you can see all this unfolding in front of your face. And so I'm extremely skeptical of your claim here that you're, completely against violence and that you don't promote it or anything, because, you're directly linked to Antifa. Here's a violent Antifa person sourcing your article about me and calling for action against me. And I tried to clarify that I don't believe this is at all justified or called for, and you've never done anything to address that, and you have no problem sending me direct messages from hiding behind the ARC account. But now, I just want to talk to you face to face. You've blocked everything and refused to acknowledge me. So I think that you should acknowledge this, especially since you work for a Catholic school board, which don't even get me started on the irony of that. But the school board, I do worry about you having. I have concerns about you having access to students, because I am getting emails from people claiming, and their comments on my YouTube video, from people claiming to be former students of yours, saying that you're extremely ideological in the classroom, and I'd like to try to get to the bottom of that, and I need to at least be able to have a dialogue with you about that. And I want to know, like, you definitely, I would say, are dishonest in your journalism, because, for example, you'll report things in a way that don't give it a proper context, and then it's therefore kind of used to smear someone. Like me, for example. Like, I'm actually a very liberal person, and free speech actually is a liberal value. If you look at Freebird Media, if you actually look at my platform, we've got interviews with Tim Moen, lots of libertarians, lots of socialists. I've interviewed some right-wing people, Travis Patron, for example, the CMP. These people, as a journalist, it's a free speech platform. And so the justification that you often sort of give, or that Antifa especially give, for attacking me is that, I've associated with far-right personalities, which means I've interviewed them on my channel. And sometimes not even interviewed them. You don't give context. So, for example, you're quick to point out that I've had Paul Fromm on my channel, but what you don't clarify is what I have is a brief clip from a rally at U of T where some students had a free speech rally, and a person in the crowd took the microphone, who happened to be Paul Fromm, and he spoke very briefly about the subject of free speech at a free speech rally, and so I put that on my free speech platform, not being aware of his extended politics before that, and I certainly didn't endorse them or anything like that. So simply saying somebody's name is on my website without giving any proper context is absolutely, framing something incorrectly, and it results in real-world violence, like I'm showing you right here with this call to action against me by Alex Hundred, who is a known dangerous person, and people have assaulted me at rallies because of these tweets. And you're aware of that, and you will only acknowledge me when you were anonymous, and now that you're not, you won't. So I think that there's a lot of there are lies in your statement here. And so for anyone just tuning in now, I'm addressing this open letter to Kurt Phillips here. This is the guy that has been running the ARC blog for 12 years, which does document actual racists and people on the fringe, right? And then it also basically attacks anyone that doesn't share certain political views of theirs by associating people with those and making a big game out of the whole thing. And at the end of the day, we have more than enough screenshots and video footage and everything else to show you what Antifa are, what they're about. And there's something very ironic about claiming to be all about dignity, respect, free speech and stuff, and then attacking a free speech platform and so disrespectfully, and somebody like me personally, while trying to hide behind that kind of defense. I've never, ironically, I've been extremely respectful overall to this Kurt guy, despite his behavior, because I would like to just have a mature conversation with him about this. And his identity has come to light because of Hadigan's affidavit, which is a legal document where she talks about the reason why she has a problem with the ARC blog, and her testimony from someone who used to be close personal friends to Kurt, someone who was your friend, doesn't look very good on you either. So it just seems odd to me that so many different people, even people that are former friends of yours, have such a low regard for your character. But I have to say, based on the way you've treated me up to this point, I do understand it. So I'm basically making this video as a way to kind of reach out to you, because you're not responding to me on LinkedIn or any social media or anything anymore, even though you were happy to sort of taunt me before when you were anonymous. And I'd like you to just release a statement on how you feel about things like this when I'm showing you pictures of Alex Hundred, or people saying come and go and punch Alex or something like that. It's I think it's totally uncalled for, and it actually destroys democracy, because people can't have people don't know what people are really about. People are misinformed, things like that. And if you look into me, I'm not someone really on the front. I'm a free speech advocate. In the past, I've been critical of mass immigration, just like Maxime Bernier, for example, who I don't think is a far right fringe figure or anything. A lot of people are concerned with mass immigration, but overall, I'm actually a very liberal person. I consider myself probably in many ways more on the left than the right. So with your blog has effectively been, you've used it as a weapon against me, and there is a connection here between Antifa and people Antifa members like Alex Hundred who threatened me and others who attacked me. So I would love to hear a response from you or even the school board that is responsible for the kids that you teach or anything to just understand what's going on here, because it's really hard to have this sort of one-sided dialogue with you, even though you've been happy to make up ridiculous, inaccurate articles about me in the past. So please reach out to me if you have any response. And in the meantime, if there's anyone watching this now that is a former student of this man, please feel free to put the phone number of the school that he works at here so that people can call. I encourage anyone watching that's concerned about this to just register a formal complaint with the school board if you're concerned about this, because I think people should be concerned about somebody that is so directly associated with Antifa. And like I said, I'm not slandering anyone here, legally speaking. This is on the banner of the Antiracist blog. It says Antifa right at the top there, so that's an endorsement from Antiracist Canada. And I'd love to have a conversation too, because I noticed that usually Antifa people go off the rails on Twitter when anything comes up, and since this is broken, there's been almost like a complete radio silence from Antifa. And I'd love to ask you just to kind of comment on this weird thing that I'm observing, because Antifa is supposed to not have any kind of hierarchical structure, and yet it seems as if there are top-down orders that exist because no one's commenting on your situation except people that aren't actually Antifa, which is really weird. And so I'm just curious what you think of that. But yeah, I'll keep this video short because that's all I really wanted to say. People continue to call for violence against me and other people, and I think it's unfair, and I think that they're doing it specifically because they're inspired by articles you've written here on your apparent anti-racist blog. Which I think, you call it that as sort of a game, and you frame it as if you're, going after racists. But I think a lot of the time it's just normal people, me and other mainstream type of people, or anyone who's just even generally conservative. And I also am curious, man to man, if you're willing to just speak to me. When you were anonymous, you were very brave, but now, I'd love to shake your hand and be able to just have a conversation with you, talk to you man to man, now that we all know who you are. So feel free to reach out to me, and I guess that's all I wanted to say. For anyone watching this stream, I'm going to do another stream very soon, a non-political stream, so if you're interested in my non-political content, stay tuned. I'm doing another stream shortly tonight, but this is just an open letter I wanted to send out to Kurt Phillips, head voice of ARC. So I rate your response, Kurt. Thank you. Take care, everyone.